All right, all right. Welcome, everybody. We're super excited to see you today here to discuss how you can upgrade your CV. My name is Juan, and I'm a Google developer expert in Angular and web technologies. And throughout my life, I like helping people with the little knowledge I have. And I think I have a guest today who also likes to do the same thing. His name is Carlos, and I met him, I think, through GitHub, if I recall correctly. And he and I kind of have a similar opinion on some topics, and I believe he is one of those engineers that is top notch. Carlos, would you like to tell your audience a little bit more about you?
So my name is Carlos. I am a software engineer for TopTel, which is a remote marketplace for talent. I've been a digital nomad for the last year as well, and I've been doing this for quite a few years now. Um, so yeah, I'm just happy to talk about what has worked for me. I've sent a lot of resumes and curriculums throughout my career. I've landed interviews in Amazon as well. So I think I have something to tell to maybe help someone else out there. That's what I'm here.
Cool, cool. All right, so viewers have been with us for the last 10 minutes, and they're probably wondering what we're going to talk about. They already know we're going to talk about how to upgrade your curriculum, uh, but how can we just give them a summary of what they're actually going to learn in the next 20 minutes? Do you have something in your mind? How could you put it?
Um, I think yeah, like four topics. I think the first one is how to make your resume stand out from a design perspective. The second thing is the first impression, like the first 20 seconds. What should you do so that you give your recruiter a good impression of yourself and triggers them to keep reading your resume? The third point is work experience. How should I show my work experience so that I stand out? And I think the fourth point, I'm not sure if that's going to be the order, but we're going to talk about, hey, I don't have enough experience, but I love coding and I want to get into this industry. How can I put out a resume so that I have any chance in companies? Um,
Absolutely.
so I think that's the too long didn't watch.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that happen is that there are companies out there that get a new curriculum every week. And there are companies that take a new curriculum every 2 minutes, like Microsoft. They
Right.
get hundreds of curriculums and they need to sort through them and look them up super, super quick. And therefore, you just cannot rely on making a curriculum that is hard to read, that it's hard to understand. You need to make something explicit, really concise, very, very to the point, and that's what we're going to teach you how to do today.
Right.
So one of the things Carlos and I talked about this before. We said this is likely a conversation that it's more aimed at those engineers that are perhaps starting or are mid engineers who are looking for change. Because if you're a seasoned engineer, chances is that you have already applied to several companies, maybe, and maybe you already got a feeling on how to apply.
Right.
So we are going to try to make an extra effort for those who are having issues or are struggling with curriculums that have no experiences. Like, what do I do there? Like, how can I fix those things? We're going to try to touch based on those points.
Right.
So let's talk about the first thing. First thing we want to talk about today is these how to make a CV stand out. How about the cover section, the about me that people often put on their resumes? What do you think people should do there? Like, I've seen things from I'm a passionate engineer developer who loves web technologies and I like crafting things and this is my job. From some other complex things like I was born in this place and then my friends
Right.
always thought I was a good engineer. So how should people keep a balance here and what should they make emphasis on?
Right. I think what it all comes down is like write in the cover letter what you would like to read or what you write like or what you read about a book. For instance, when you're trying to read a book, you read the cover letter or the author bio. Um, how do you get impressed by that? Why do you get triggered to read the book? And I think that's the same mindset that you would have to have in order to write your cover letter. So like specific points that I recommend is try to avoid verbosity. Like do not put things like I am a passionate developer with respectful and good team player, good learner. Every single developer that we know has all these characteristics in paper at least. So it doesn't make you stand out from the crowd, right? You don't really need to have something super special on you, but you do have some things that make you stand out. You need just to think about yourself and think about them. So for instance, if you're a backend developer, you can say like, I have over 4 years of experience building Node.js and Python apps. I have deployed 5 APIs to thousands of users worldwide. Like you need to use power words because that is very compelling, and it's not telling lies. It's just leveraging your things. So like if you deploy something, even if it's a local product, chances are that your product is going to be viewed over like worldwide. Like my blog has views, and it's just so normal for you and for me and for everyone, but it's not like it sounds very powerful on paper. So you need to put those things like thousands of views worldwide, or how many views have your blog post had,
Yep.
or if you're a front-end developer, I have developed more than 65 components for an Angular app. Or my like it's different to say I have developed dashboards in React than saying I have contributed to make multimillionaire decisions with my reports in a dashboard or something like that, or a handful of K's of dollars or things like that. So it's like standing out in your cover letter, try to say specific things about you. If you tell me you're a great learner, that is saying nothing about you. That's
Yeah.
different from Juan or from Carlos. But if you tell me you have 2 years of experience just working on Vuex, then okay, so yeah, this person has something different from Juan, who's just an Angular developer from Carlos, right?
Yep.
So yeah, that's like my call, my take on that. What about you?
So I agree with you. I think it's not about the length as much. I don't think it's about the buzzwords as much. I don't think it's about um, the newest trends. I think it's more about showing an authentic and genuine personality, or your genuine character, your professional character in a single paragraph that you can portray transparently and in a clear way. It's about saying, look, I am not the greatest engineer, but I'm an Angular engineer who's built 10 components, and they are published in this. They are used by a couple of people, hundreds of people. If that's you, that's all right. I mean, you don't have to just make things up. You need to, right? And reality is that we often fall into this spectrum of saying what you said, right? It's like, I'm a great learner, I'm passionate about web development. Well, everyone else
Everyone
is,
else,
right?
yeah, exactly.
Try to focus on those things that very few people are, or that are very unique to you, something that they couldn't find anywhere else, and that's how you sell it, right? So yeah,
Exactly.
totally agree with you on that. In terms of length, I suggested perhaps a paragraph. Would you have an opinion on the length of how many words, maybe how many paragraphs would you put in this about section?
Right. I think just one paragraph with from 5 to 6 sentences. That's what we need. Like the main purpose of this is like every part of the resume has its own purpose. The cover letter purpose is to make the recruiter or the engineer to keep moving forward, to keep reading, to generate attention. So just keep it in 6 lines and tell me something that I want to read more on your resume. It's like your intro. Yeah, six sentences, 5 to 6 sentences. It's my opinion, with just a few numbers, few, yeah, power words, and be authentic, as you said.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would
What do
even
you think about it?
no, I think it's fine. I think one paragraph, five, six statements is it's accurate. It's about right.
Right.
I would say if I have to rank every single part of the CV from 1 to 10, or say which one is the most important ones, being the 10th one, the most important one. I don't think this section is the top one. I think this is about perhaps the third more important section. I would say your work experience is perhaps where the core
Right.
value that you have can provide, because that's where you say this is what I've done and this is how, therefore this is what I can provide to your company. But
I
what do you
agree.
think? Do you think the about you section in the beginning, the cover section, how important it is for you?
Yeah, definitely not the most critical, as you said. Like going back to the example of the book that I just said, like the intro or the cover letter is not like the most important part of the book because you're willing to go into the content itself. Um, so yeah, I would rank it maybe after work experience and any other thing that you want to show up. Like if you have good education, then that goes after education. If you didn't have education at all, then maybe you could have skills or projects that you want to show. So intro just comes after those things. Yeah, work experience is yeah that tops the resume information that you should give.
Cool.
Definitely.
So one of the questions, and we're going to try to keep this interactive. So if anybody in the audience will have any questions, just feel free to shoot it. We'll answer it right away. We'll try to be brief so we
Right.
can keep it under 30 minutes. But I feel
Right.
that like that's not going to be possible. But
Okay.
anyway, so Antisoni 2008 is asking, should I refer to myself in third person on those paragraphs? What do you think, Carlos? What would you say?
Um, well, again, this is not like very professional advice. This is something that just has worked for me a lot. But I do tend to keep it like I, I put yeah, I don't have any problem. Like I have experienced building 5 apps with I don't know blah blah blah, and I have mentored I don't know you as a GDA. I would say like I have mentored thousands of people in 5 continents or something like that. I don't really have any problem in doing that, but I can respect any opinion. But that's my take. That's my personal take on that.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I think some places or some companies might see it better if you do it in third person. But I'll be honest. I also have it in first person, my current CV. So I think that wouldn't be one critical thing to be so concerned about. So, however you feel more comfortable with Antisani, that will just do. I would
Right.
say.
Right.
And maybe a disclaimer just for everyone that is listening. Remember that this advice is not set in stone. Some companies out there prefer just different approach, their own way of presenting CVs. So it's fine. You just stick to whatever that company wants. But if you want to make a CV that perhaps works for the average, then perhaps the advice we're bringing today could help you. So one of the things Carlos and I did is that we sent a tweet and we asked people, if you need help with your CV, just reach out to us. We'll be super happy to help. And many people reach out to us. And one of the things I saw is that when it comes to the CV in general, some of them looked really nice, really slick, like very carefully designed, and some others were more like the default style that Word documents give you, right? Like a little bit of bold, a bigger title, and so on. I will start with this one. What do I think about design? I think design plays a relevant role. I don't think it should be the determining factor to either decide if they should pick you or not. But I think it has some weight on it. I think what you can do is that if you are a designer, well, you can do it yourself. If you're not a designer and you don't have the skills to perhaps do it, then just go with a service out there that can help you, or with a template that it's already predefined in which you put your information on. I use this website called resume.io. I'm going to put it in the chat in a moment. And resume.io gives you a free subscription, I guess, in which you can just put your CV. I did that and it looks astonishing. I love it. And people love it as well. So maybe you can give it a try to that. But what's your take on design, Carlos? What do you think?
Yeah, I think, well, it's definitely critical. Not so much about design and colors itself, but how you show your information. Because, well, design should just be a means to an end. It's not the end itself. So what's the end? The end is to make you stand out, right? To make the recruiter know who you are and remember you. And so for that, I would recommend just having a clean, like a super clean design. Like specific tips that I would give people is like avoid. That's just my personal take. Again, if you want, I haven't seen your resume, by the way. So if this doesn't apply to you, it's okay. But for me, like try to avoid two columns, because when you read something, like when you read a book or something, it's difficult to read with two columns. You don't know where to focus on. And on the right section, you're telling me your skills, and the left section, you're telling me your work experience. I don't think that's gonna be easy to navigate. So that's one thing, and just try to keep the least amount of information, just the most critical one. Um, like I once saw this resume that had the references on top, like, and the references were just five people who I don't have any idea of who they are, with their phone numbers and the emails, and that distracted me because you spend a lot of my attention reading that instead of just pointing me to the right thing. So yeah, just a clean design. I don't have any tools that I can recommend, but that resume that I owe looks like a good one. So when I was reviewing resumes, I saw a lot of them there.
Okay.
I just go with a plain doc, it's a Google Doc. I put my name on top, put my email and something else that I would like to contact, and then just dive right into who I am and why you should get to know me in an interview. So avoid two columns. Avoid, I would say, like avoid very brilliant colors or like non-contrasting things as well. Avoid dark backgrounds, I'd say. Just keep it super clean. Just focus on content. Don't make me think about anything else. Just about you.
Yeah, I like that.
That's my tip. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's good. Yeah, don't make me think. It's a good way to put it. Just put a summary or a curriculum that I can just go to the point, right? Which is the content, and don't put this sign in the middle that it becomes an obstacle for me to just go through it for whatever that means to you, right? Cool.
No, that's it. It's worth mentioning that we're talking about developers here, right? Because this is going to be reviewed by an HR department and an engineer. But if you're applying for design and architecture, or I don't know, community management or something like that, I suppose that you should get a lot more creative. But yeah, that's a topic for another call.
Absolutely.
For now, yeah, just keep it simple.
In the comments, Sergio Gulen suggested that he used a format similar to the one showed in the Google resume. I guess this is a website, movie, or a format. I don't know this one. Do you know this one, the Google resume?
I'm not quite sure about it. No.
Okay.
Yeah, but if you can't send it over in the chat.
Yep, totally. All right, moving on. So what about length, Carlos? So what do you think? 1 page, 2 pages, unlimited?
For me, just to stick to 1 page.
All right.
1 page. Anything other than 2 pages or more than 1 page is like, they're not going to remember any of that. They're just going to remember 1 or 2 things about you when they close your resume. So it's really not worth it to put 2 pages in there.
All right.
Just 1 page. What about you? What's your take?
2 pages. I could not express enough information in 1 page. Okay. But perhaps I can find a better layout to do it. Right. for what I've seen in my experience talking to recruiters, to which I usually befriend. I don't know why.
Mhm.
Um, 2 pages
That's good.
seems like they work for them. So yeah, it was like the limit.
Okay.
Beyond 2 pages, then you're starting to get into the land of
Yeah.
the land of this is too long to read.
Right.
I just
Right.
don't have time for this. Again, if we're talking about a company that has a lot of time to review your CV, then you're fine. But maybe not, right? So yeah,
Right.
try to keep it simple to the point. And then if you don't know, if you had a lot of information and you don't know what to get rid of because every single achievement feels personal and you're so proud of all of them, ask a
Right.
friend. Ask a friend, hey, what do you think I can get rid of? Chances are that there are a couple of things like education, like your primary educations, bachelor, secondary education, high school. I would say that's it's hardly ever the case that that's relevant for a company. I would say.
Right.
I think there are other things that have more weight. So, yeah,
Definitely.
cool. Carlos, do you put your picture in your CV or not at all?
I do not. I do not. And if you ask me, I would say you should not. Just to keep the. I mean, this is hard to say, but there's still a lot of bias in our industry for that.
Mm-hmm.
Like for how like who you hire and all that, which is something that we all are trying to fight against. Um, but unconsciously, so they're processing the unconscious of humans that make you try to favor the ones that are similar to you.
All right.
So that's something that it's pretty bad to hear, but that's something that it happens. And there are a lot of experiments out there, like scientifically proven, um, that recruiters are just humans as well that are affected by things like pictures and things like that. So I would, and that's why companies like I've seen Amazon, for instance, they don't when they're interviewing you. I've gone through that interview, they don't see you. You don't have to share your camera. So they're trying to like avoid any kind of bias about that, which is nice. So in the final interview, they get to see you as well. Yeah, because you need to contact with them, interact with them. You just can go with the background. Yeah. But for the vast majority of the process, you don't get to see anyone. They don't get to see you. It's all about your experience, your skills. So no, I personally don't think you should put your picture in the resume. Like for me, in an ideal world, I would say like you shouldn't even put your name. But that's like like a super ideal,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
uh, very um, utopic
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
world. But yeah, so yeah, for me, picture is really not relevant. It should not be there. What about you?
So what I've seen some companies do, and they should do, I, I guess as well, it's that they blind the CVs. I don't know if that's the correct term, but they do it blindfolded. So
Okay.
somebody removes perhaps the name, the pictures, and any identifiable information in your CV, so somebody else can review it. So
Nice.
I've seen companies already having this process settled. Perhaps you help them by just removing your picture. Um, I don't think that could play against you. But I do agree with you. We shouldn't let people be biased by how we look because that's irrelevant to the work
Right.
unless you're applying to be a model, right?
Right.
But not our case. So
Exactly. Yeah.
moving on.
Well,
So
nonetheless, if like for LinkedIn that requires an image, nothing to do. Yeah, just put up your best face and yeah, put a good picture at least.
yeah,
Because well, it's something that we need to leave. Like we are used to judge people by how they look. That's really bad, but that's what it is. So, but in resumes, it must be avoided, I think. And but yeah, that's just my take on that.
when it comes to content, so one of the things I see is when people write their CVs, they express information in a certain way. And when it comes to work experience, I think the way you express the information is critical for the recruiter and whoever is reviewing it to get the real value out of it. One of the things I see is that when it comes to work experience, some people could put something like, and perhaps I did as well, I worked in this company and I work with Angular, CSS, and HTML. And we built websites for clients and and we use Scrum. And that's it, right? That's your description, or that was perhaps my description of my work experience. And I believe that might have not been the right way to approach this. I believe it's by stating what you did and how you did it in the most technical way you can put it, as long as it remains readable and understandable. Because the reality is that the recruiter might just skim through your CV and just find some keywords and see what you really did, more or less. But it is the engineer, perhaps, the person that is gonna just go through it more thoroughly, and this person will want to see technical terms and technical, I don't know, patterns, paradigms, approaches, techniques being displayed there. If you worked with Angular, instead of saying what I just said, you can say, look, I work for this company in which I build transactional web applications in the PWA format that at most or have even 100 components, and that require interoperability and web support for Internet Explorer 11 and all browsers. Things like this is like, oh, okay, I have things to latch on. There are things I can ask him about, like how do you do that in Internet Explorer 11? Things like this, I think, provide more cues to the reviewer. But what do you think? How should people state information in the work experience section?
I think I just agreed with everything you just said. But like the specific advice that I could give people is something that I got as well from a book, which is Cracking the Code on Interview. Mm-hmm. It's like the Bible of code on interviews. And I got this very cool advice, which is, number one, use the following format, which is account by implementing why. So just don't tell me what you did, but tell me what you achieved with that. So it's not like I built 2 Angular applications. I got a lot of resumes here that all of them build Angular applications. So what did you do with that? All right, so I don't know, or maybe you implemented something in Jenkins and continuous integration. So you can say something like, I reduced the time to market by 2x by implementing a CI in Jenkins and Python scripts which make Scrum to be 3x faster or something like that. All right, I can see what you can do for me, right? Or yeah, with Angular applications, I helped 2,000 customers buy goods online by building 2 React applications and admin and dashboards, something like that, right? Okay, so now you're giving me numbers, which is my number 2 point. It's like, use numbers, because numbers are like, they engage a lot, right? Like, for instance, when you're reading blog posts, it's proven as well that if you use list titles in your titles or something like that, it makes the user a little bit like more engaged with your content. Mm-hmm. So it's not trying to go with something like clickbait or something in the work experience. Yeah. Like, do not sound dumb, but put at least some numbers so that I can. All right, so this guy, like if you're a data science, it's very different to say I use pandas and keras to do data mangling, which is different to saying like I helped managers to analyze 2 terabytes of data by pulling from MySQL and mangling in, I don't know, in AWS or something like that, right? So, it's like you can use this, achieve something by doing this. So that way you're showing results, you're showing numbers, and you're also getting too technical because you're talking about your like Jenkins or Angular, React, or I don't know, whatever you've done. um, to that extent. Yeah.
If I have to summarize what you just said, I will perhaps portray it like this: portray your achievements in terms of numbers and consequences, or yeah, right? It's like I'd build a fully transactional app, um, and 1,000 lines of code that is used by people in the 5 continents. Things like this, right? They're
Correct.
perhaps more
Yes.
powerful.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely
Right.
nice. It's 40 minutes. It's 10 minutes more than we thought we were gonna take. So first of all, I want to apologize to everybody in the audience
Yeah.
for I don't think it's correct to ask people more of their time, but
Yeah.
I'll calibrate next time. I'll make sure that this actually takes the time that we say it's gonna take. But I really hope you're enjoying the whole thing, the whole talk. We have 15 people connected at the moment. So if you're connected for any country, any city, just we look forward to know where we're connected from, and ask as many questions as you like. We are doing this live because we want to actually hear what you have to say, hear perhaps your experience, hear what you have issues with, what your questions are, so we can answer in live. So we have a couple of more topics, and then we just can let it open for anybody to post and maybe other things they want to touch base on. But Carlos, what do you think about, let's say, education? The skills and education. How should people address those two points there?
Right. I'm just gonna be quick about that because yeah, we're a little bit over time. But yeah, skills. Just try to put your skill and your proficiency level. So don't just tell me, Angular, Vue, Node.js, testing, Cypress. No, try to tell me like Angular or something, Cypress, unit testing, and protractor, and Jasmine, intermediate or proficient or something. That's just my advice on that. Like put the technology and put the proficiency. Do not show me 20 technologies. Just if you're applying for a front-end development job, I might not be able to might not be interested in knowing that you work with Java Beans or things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let's try to keep it scoped. And for the education, I think it all comes down on how many, like, if you have a ton more experience with a lot of years of experience, then just keep your education just plain like that, engineer or whatever thing that you studied. And if you have some great achievement, put it like top 5% of graduation class or something. But otherwise, I wouldn't put a lot of information there. But if you just graduated in 2018 and 2019, then yeah, you should put something there like you gave a course to 20 students, or you joined a robotics group and you competed worldwide or in a local competition and you won these awards. Yeah, just something very brief that makes you stand out because you didn't have a lot of experience. So your leverage is your education if you did well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's my take.
When it comes to skills, so one of the things I've seen in CVs is that they have these bars, like they say like this is like 10 out of 10, this is like 5 out of 10, and then they have these bars that show progress as to your skills. But that's highly subjective indeed. And I think that they don't convey too much information. They kind of convey your evaluation of the skills you think you have. And again, this can be very subjective. So not just because somebody said, I'm 10 out of 10 in Node, like, oh, this is the Node expert, we gotta hire him right now, right? so I believe I can get information about skills more easily from the work experience, and perhaps more reliable in a more reliable way from the work experience than from the skills chart that you managed to put there. I won't lie to you, I still have the skills chart in my CV, so I have it there.
Yeah,
But
no, I have it as well. Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think it gives many valuable information. So therefore, I would say you can put it if you want, you can leave it, it's okay. Just don't mingle too much with it. It's not perhaps the most critical part of your CV anyway. So and don't make it to extent if you know Bootstrap, CSS, Tailwind, jQuery. You don't need to list all of those things there because they are like, yeah, they are libraries. That's cool, but those are not so. I mean, it just fills up your CV with a lot of information that might not be so relevant. So that will be my point regarding skills and regarding education. I think most of the time we come or sometimes people do not have anything to show, like, or not just anything, but very little to show, and that's fine. That's fine because we're all of us, we've been there. Therefore, you have to rely on what you have. But my take here is perhaps it's okay just to simplify and summarize what is relevant to the employer as opposed to filling it up with things that you achieved. So if you're applying to a software engineering role and then you happen to be a waitress at a restaurant, I mean, cool. Certainly you probably learned some, I don't know, motor skills, some memory skills, but that's just not adding too much value to your CV. So I would say if you don't have too much to put, just cut it. Just put what's relevant. And I believe bachelor degrees is perhaps one relevant. Anything that's behind or like primary school, secondary school, high school, doesn't add too much value. And same for courses. So if you've done courses, that's cool, but some courses have more value and meaning than others. So if you are Amazon AWS certificate cloud architect, well, that's the thing because not everybody can get that. Perhaps Carlos knows about this. And if you're a Google developer expert, cool, that's the thing. But if you did a course on, I don't know, Quora or I don't know, Udemy, that might not add too much value in my opinion. If you've done a course on web development in Udemy, I'd rather see that reflected in your work experience or your projects as opposed to show me the course, because anyone can take the course, but not anyone can build something that you built. So I think there's more value there.
What do you think about people that haven't not had the privilege of going to college and have built their way up with courses like this? Should they show them? Because it's pretty much the only education they have.
Fair.
And they might be like super great engineers. What do you think about that?
So I think I would say in an utopian world, education perhaps shouldn't be a matter of picking you up because they're not selecting you based on like the studies you did, right? Like perhaps 20 years ago, formal education, university was the only way for you to tell if somebody was good at doing something. Perhaps this is the case in other industries. But today you can learn web development, indeed, as you said, through the internet. And then after hundreds of hours, you're already very proficient at something. So why should that be relevant? Like the path that you took to reach to a destination. I think people or a company will get value out of you, out of the things you know how to do and the things you will do for them, regardless of how you learn those skills. Having said that, again, at the other side, there are traditional companies that will care about your education. So in that point, I would say, yes, put the courses, put whatever you have that is more relevant. Still do not put all of them, perhaps not necessary, but put the 3 or the 2 main courses that you've done, and that should suffice.
Definitely. It's a good one.
Cool. Final topic, I would say, to just wrap it up a little bit. Cover letter. Cover letter, if anyone in the audience is not familiar with this, I was not familiar because in Colombia, where I lived for 25 years, it wasn't that common for companies to ask for a cover letter. And when I started applying to jobs abroad, what happened is that they asked for this cover letter, and I'm like, what is this? And I couldn't understand exactly what it was until I talked to a recruiter a couple of months ago and asked her, and she said, look, Juan, the CV describes who you are. describes what you've done, like the value you can bring. The cover letter describes your unique interest in applying to us, in applying to this company. So your CV, in theory, shouldn't be so different from all the companies out there. But your cover letter is unique for the company you want to work for. And if you want to work for a company, perhaps you don't have a very good reason, or perhaps you actually would love to work there. So when I applied to Spotify, I said, look, I've been using Spotify even before it was legal. I was just using a VPN. This is how much I love this product. So that was my cover letter.
Nice.
So yeah, but what do you think about it?
Well, I have never actually written a cover letter, to be honest. The closest that I've been to a cover letter was a statement of purpose, which I wrote when I was applying for masters in the US. But for jobs, I haven't been asked, maybe because I haven't applied to enough jobs in maybe in Europe where they ask for that. Mostly in the US, I've done all my career, and I haven't been asked that. But yeah, I think, well, if I were to extrapolate that to a statement of purpose, which I wrote for these universities, it's I think it's a lot of time that you need to spend on that. So like, be sure that you really want to work in there. Find out if they have any blog about engineering and write about that. Like, I love how you work with this technology, and I have done this in the past, and I would love to work with this person as well, because I admire this, and I've been following this guy on Twitter or on YouTube or something like that. Like, show genuine interest in the company. Yeah, to be honest, I don't have a lot of experience with that. I think you are more versed in that to talk about it.
Yep. So there are a couple of people connected from Egypt. We have Esra. We have Manas from Sri Lanka.
Well, I know Esra. She's the best one.
Say it again.
I know Esra. Hey, Esra.
Really? Ah, cool. Nice.
Yeah, she's the best one.
Cool. That's
best engineer I've worked with so far.
No way.
Definitely, yeah, yes. It's pretty smart.
All right. So, well, this is cool. My brother, I guess, is also connected. So thanks for. So yeah, I think we covered several topics. Thank you very much for your time, Carlos, for sharing this advice.
Anytime.
Anybody in the audience, do you have any questions for us? We're gonna open a panel for you to ask anything you would like, anything you're not so sure about, any particular thing you would like to know about your own CV. This is the time for you to ask. So we're gonna leave the chat open for about another 4 minutes, so you can ask anything. In the meantime, Carlos and I we'll just look at each other through the camera.
Well, if you guys want to keep sending me your resumes, I still have some of them online, but it takes like 2 hours or 3 hours a week to review resumes. So if any of you just want to shoot me your resume so that I can take a look at it, I normally take a good amount of time into each one. So yeah, just ping me on Twitter, send me a message on Twitter. I'll put my handle here. Well, I didn't.
It's in the stream.
Yeah, right. I need to. Yeah, I'll do it later. Or you can find me at Carosa 1222. I just put in there.
It's right below your picture. If nobody can find it, it's right below his picture.
Okay, nice. So shoot me any message if you want to talk about that. And I write about that as well. Like, I've put all this knowledge into blog posts. If you guys are following me on Twitter, you know that like, I'm passionate about trying to help people with things that have worked for me.
Nice. So while Auntie Sonny has a question, what about portfolio websites? So I guess he means like curriculums that are uploaded. So I'll tell you something. I think it it's hardly the case when a company will rather see your portfolio as a website than perhaps in the format they are asking it, which is likely a PDF, although things might change in the future. But even if you do it in a website, I would say try to follow the same principles we discussed here. Clear, transparent, to the point, describe your achievements, so on. Just keep the relevant information. I think this is key, because if you make your portfolio, but then it has like 10 tabs, and then it has lots of buttons, and then it has a lot of colors and a lot of distractions, then it's more of a personal project than your portfolio, right? I would say, and if your portfolio is super astonishing, then again it's more like a personal project in which you're showing off your skills and they look super nice, more than your actual portfolio where people just get the information right away. What do you think, Carlos?
Yeah, well, I'm not sure if he was asking, like, should I send, like, if I have a portfolio website, should I send that, or should I have a portfolio website at all?
Okay.
If it's the first one, I would agree with you. Like, yeah, they don't care about that. They just want a PDF because that's the format that works for them. So yeah, but on the second hand, well, on the other hand, having a portfolio website is definitely helpful. For me, it was when I was applying. I got some of my employers saying me later, like, hey, I saw your website, like not the current one, but like the previous one, and I saw that you made these projects, and that is something that I'd like to see in my place. So that played a part of me being hired. Or in the interview, they asked me to show some work, and I didn't have anything at hand, but just what I had in my side. So I went to my portfolio, and they told me, all right, yeah, this is what we're looking for.
Nice.
So it's definitely helpful for me, and I would definitely advocate just throw something at a GitHub pages or something that says like, hey, I am a web developer, and I design pages and I have mine, right?
Yep.
That's for one side. And the other advantage of that is that, but that's for another topic, but you can get reached out if you put your things out there. So if you have a project and they go to your website and they keep skimming through the website and then see your blog posts and they see your projects, and they finally go to your about page and they see your email, I think I can contact this guy because I have a project for this dude,
Nice.
for this girl. Yeah, this is something that might play to your advantage. So yeah, just take the time to do something. It doesn't have to be a lot, but yeah, show me what you have done. Maybe I have something for you.
Nice. I also have my portfolio online. You can find it on jdjuan.io. Looks it's so good. Looks amazing. You'll be all impressed. Regardless, okay. So, how's man Maya Leal? Thank you very much. Thank you very much, guys. Really useful info you shared today. Thank you for staying connected.
Right.
And then Ezra also said, yeah, still waiting for your cracking the top tall interview guy. Carlos, it seems like
Yeah,
you got
it's
somebody.
been 4 weeks working on that thing. Yeah.
Cool.
But this week I'm gonna send a very nice update, which is like the chapter about algorithms. So it has examples, it has solutions, and a lot of tips to crack those interviews.
Nice.
Yeah, stay tuned. Yeah.
Cool. One last call for questions. If anybody in the audience has any questions, this is the time for it. We want to answer anything before we just log off. In the meantime, I want to appreciate again. Thank you very much for jumping in and syncing out with us. We just wanted to share a little bit of our experience with you, in case it was helpful. And sure, like I'm planning to host sessions more often. So likely we're gonna have other guests, but I want to have Carlos for a second time, or perhaps already a third time, discuss other topics, right? Maybe I don't know, soft skills or entrepreneurship or getting your brand out there as a software engineer, right? So, yeah.
Right.
So Victor, Santiago, and everyone else, thank you very much for being connected with us. We hope you have a great rest of Sunday. And until next time, goodbye, everybody.
Have a good one, everyone. Bye bye. A good Sunday.
Yes.